We are following breaking news in Cincinnati this morning. At least one person is dead and more than a dozen others are hurt after a shooting at a nightclub. Our local affiliate, WLWT, says it happened just after 1 o'clock at Cameo nightclub in the Linwood area. We're told one person has died, 15 others are being treated at the hospital. Cincinnati police say several of those victims have life-threatening injuries.
Yeah, like you guys said, 14 surviving victims at this point that we know of. One person confirmed dead. Those 14 people taken to 5 separate area hospitals. And while we have had some large-scale shootings, not something quite like this in this area in certainly quite some time. And again, at this point, we saw a fire truck down here. There's been tow trucks, just constant emergency vehicles moving in and out of the scene at this point. But we're being kept pretty far back at this point because that investigation still very much going on. Right now, they're just trying to really lock down potential witnesses. And of course, some of those witnesses are also possible victims. So they're getting them treated in that emergency capacity at this point. And they're trying to get information out of them over whether or not, we do know it's one confirmed shooter, but it could be more guys. There's still so much to pick through and so much information they are trying to still gather. At this point, we do know the assistant police chief out here in Cincinnati did tweet out that they don't believe there's any reason to think that this is terrorism motivated or anything related to that, but there's also no word on a motive at this point. So still,
the shooting happened just before 2 a.m. this morning. Right now, police have been down here for several hours since it all happened. We've had ATF agents down here. We've had tow trucks, fire trucks, crime scene vans circulating in and out throughout the entire morning. We also spoke to a witness who was inside when the gunfire happened.
I laid down on the floor at first and waited till everybody else may have got out the way, you know what I mean? Then I ran out with the rest of the club.
My thoughts and prayers and condolences to the individuals that were the victims of this act of violence that took place in our city last night. Last night at about 1:30 a.m., our emergency communications section began receiving calls that shots had been fired with injuries inside the Cameo's nightclub, which is located at 4601 Kellogg Avenue in District 2. As the night unfolded and the initial investigation began, it was determined that the bar was very crowded, approximately a couple of hundred people. And what we know at this point in the investigation, several local men got into some type of a dispute inside the bar, and it escalated into shots being fired from several individuals. As a result, there were 16 people that sustained gunshot injuries, one of which is deceased. A total of 15 others that were injured, one in extremely critical condition. In addition to that, several others, more serious injuries and some very minor and were released. The individual that was deceased at the scene has been identified and his family has been notified. Mr. O'Brien Spikes, a male, 27 years of age. Some additional information that I can tell you about the incident. This is a very large establishment. They do employ off-duty police officers to patrol the parking lot. They are required or responsible for the internal security themselves. It is my understanding that they do wand individuals and pat them down. However, what we know at this point, several firearms were able to be brought inside the bar. Our criminal investigations section is handling the investigation, and keep in mind again, there are multiple witnesses. There's a lot of information still coming in. We're still processing evidence from the scene, and we're asking any of those individuals that were there to please call Crime Stoppers and provide any additional information that they can provide. Also, we will be following up on what took place there. Our Vice unit, the Ohio Investigative Unit, our law department, just to make sure that we've covered all our bases in this.
This is America. We should have the right to go out and have a good time, and we should not be expecting that gunfights will take place in nightclubs. And so what happened is evil, it's wrong, and it raises a whole lot of questions. And we've got to bring the shooters to justice, and we've got to help the victims heal.
Many of them were multi-victim, but not 16. I've never been anything like that. This is, you know, 3 times, 4 times anything I've ever witnessed myself personally. When you're talking about something that is tightly packed like that, I think intended targets are not going to be the only thing that's hit. When you start throwing lead around and there's a lot of other people standing around, then other people are going to get hit, and that speaks to the cold-hearted nature of whoever was in here doing this. You know, it's one thing to shoot an intended target. That's bad enough. It's another thing that you're doing it and just a little bit of common sense, which might be giving them too much credit. A little bit of common sense tells you that you're likely to hurt other people.
Right now, police don't have anyone in custody and don't have a suspect description to pass along. If you have any information, you're, as always, urged to give Crime Stoppers a call at 352-3040.